Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Previously, holy crap, so many shocking, twisting things happened. All of a sudden, Gina Lestrade rushed into Sholmes' suite and was like, Gregson's dead. The accused killer is Barak von Zieks himself. And then later we learned that the prosecutor in that case is going to be Kazuma Asogi, our best friend. So, still kind of losing my mind over all of it. Anyway, we had some words with Strongheart here. He wants us to show a certain photograph to Van Zieks while he's in prison, and hopefully that should get him to requiesce and accept Ryunosuke as his defense lawyer, so let's go pay a visit to him. Into the prison. Not the governor's office, but just the prison. Probably a different prison, come to think of it. Yeah, just a local prison, not Barclay, so... Lord Van Zieks is still reading that letter. We've been gone quite some time, though. Either he's an incredibly slow reader, or it's an incredibly long letter. You know what? There's not really much else to do, so... I might even be able to read English faster than he can. I was intending to ignore you entirely. But I can't turn a deaf ear to such an insulting Nipponese. Oh, sorry. Didn't think you'd hear that. I had the case notes brought to me in secret. I was reading them to pass the time. Can I get that? Yes, we heard that your trial is set for tomorrow. Which is none of your business. So have you found a lawyer? How many times must I reiterate the same thing? This has nothing to do with you. In other words, no. We were just talking to Lord Strongheart, and the prosecutor for your trial has been decided. I'd expect nothing less, though I have no idea who it is. It's going to be Kazuma Asogi. Asogi? That made the color drain from his face. Yeah, that name is probably etched pretty deeply in there. Well then. It seems I'm going to have to engage in conversation with you again after all. Well, that was easy. Let's hold off on showing that photo for a bit. 10 years ago, my older brother, who was the director of prosecutions at the time, was murdered. And the killer, as you know, was a visiting student from the Far East. Not a single day goes by when I don't curse the name Asogi. Genshin Asogi was Kazuma-sama's father. So what cruel twist of fate is this now, 10 years later? The man's son is to crucify me in some kangaroo court. I still don't understand why Lord Strongheart apprenticed Kazuma to you. It's what he does. No doubt he knew of the young man's true identity from the outset. But what could he have been hoping to achieve? And let's not forget that it was only 8 days ago that Kazuma recovered from his amnesia. Why would Lord Strongheart assign this trial to somebody like that? Asogi. That name is the very epitome of my bane. The bane that is you, Nipponese. Right. Your hatred of all us Japanese. I'd only just been appointed as a Oh no. I just... I can't, oh no. My mind just made a connection to a stupid image meme. Oh, it's like that freaking DreamWorks Trolls movie, licensed film, Trolls. I've never seen the film, I don't know what it's about, but there's just this image, like, of this gray-colored, dour-looking, angry, like, bully archetype, mean troll, who is sulking and then turned around, whipped around, and like, because it killed my grandma, okay? And it's like, I haven't seen the film, but I already know that that line is justifying his angriness and his bullying and his rudeness for the whole thing, and it's supposed to be like, oh, poor baby, his grandma was killed. And I'm like, this is Van Zieks right now. He's like, I'm edgy because the Japanese killed my brother, okay? Oh no. Oh, I can't unthink that now. Oh, man. Oh, that's okay, I'll still take it seriously, though. I'd only just been appointed as the prosecutor when it happened 10 years ago. My brother Clint, the director of prosecutions, was hunting down a mass murderer. The so-called professor. Assigned to the investigation as his partner was a certain visiting student dispatched from Scotland Yard. And that was Genshin Asogi. Exactly. Ooh, that is some bitter betrayal. I developed a deep respect for the man. He seemed noble-minded and chivalrous in the extreme to me. But none of us saw the true nature of the man. So I lost everything when it happened. My esteemed brother, the people I believed in, and any semblance of right prevailing over wrong. Is this a new song? Wow, this late in the duology, still getting new tracks. So good. Oh, how awful. To avenge my brother, I prosecuted Inasogi's trial. It wouldn't ordinarily have been allowed, but I beleaguered the ascribed prosecutor until he consented. What do you mean by the ascribed prosecutor? The man in charge of the professor case inquiry, Lord Mael Stronhart. Oh. Wait, what? Lord Stronhart? He was a highly accomplished prosecutor, but he agreed to relinquish the trial to me and act as my advisor instead. Since that time, he's the one person to whom I felt indebted. I'm sure he must have seen your zeal for the case and recognized your potential as a prosecutor. Anyway, time passed, but then earlier this year, who should arrive in London but you? Oh! And of all things, as a lawyer. I felt your animosity the first time I ever faced you in the courtroom. Your obvious deep loathing of us Japanese. I kept telling myself it was illogical. But for so many years, that hatred has festered inside me, I could no longer control it. And I can understand why, now I know the history. But in the same way that I've long felt the Nipponese to be the bane of my life, to Kazuma Asogi I am the bane of his, the reaper who sent his father to the gallows. He's looking for revenge, and he intends to take it in court tomorrow. Whoa. Hadn't considered that. Well, I don't know, man. The way Kazuma was talking, he seemed to be, like, not okay with Genshin's actions. Like, he sliced apart the wax figure. Not with just any sword, but the family sword, the very one he inherited from his father. That surely says to me that he does not approve of Genshin in any way. Gregson's transfer to the Paris Police Prefecture had finally been arranged for the coming month. But he'll never make it to France now. It's a tragedy. Oh, yes. Come to think of it, he did mention something about that, didn't he? I wonder, does it happen often? Being transferred internationally, I mean. It's the first time I've ever encountered it. Oh. The Paris police welcoming an English detective is almost inconceivable. I can't imagine what kind of magic Gregson must have worked to put that arrangement in place. It sounds like that mystery has even the Reaper perplexed. I'm afraid to say that we were very ignorant about Inspector Gregson's standings. We hear that he was considered something of a legend at Scotland Yard. Again, it was 10 years ago that he first made a name for himself, by uncovering a decisive piece of evidence that exposed the professor's identity. Oh. If it wasn't for Gregson's singular approach to the case, the discovery would have never been made. What sort of approach? After my brother's life was taken, the inspector pushed for a full autopsy. Oh my! 10 years ago? Why is that so surprising? Autopsy was considered a desecration of the body at the time, and rarely performed. And my brother was of course a noble. That made the idea of it even more unthinkable. But something Gregson had dug up in his investigations made him determined it was necessary. His powerful convictions somehow influenced the House of Lords, and as a result, I could avenge my brother's death. So, you must have had great confidence in the inspector's abilities then. And it's even more inconceivable that you would have taken his life. I don't have confidence in anyone. Oh. And I'm sure Gregson felt the same way. I've no doubt he thought of me only as the ominous Reaper, just like the rest of London. What really went on between Lord Van Zieks and Gregson, I wonder? What was the true nature of their relationship? Is that why I show off the photo? Yeah, they look pretty happy together. About the gun used to shoot the inspector that was found at the scene. Ah, yes, that's not mine. Really, because common opinion seems to be that it is. What do you expect me to say to that? Lord Strongheart informs us that you claim to have misplaced your firearm. As embarrassing as that is, I'm afraid it's true. When did you lose it then? That I don't know. Oh. I was issued with a revolver when I first became a prosecutor 10 years ago. Oh, excuse me. I must have stowed it somewhere, I suppose, or left it somewhere, perhaps. You haven't touched or seen your gun in 10 years? You have something in common with Lord Van Zieks after all, Mr. Naruhodo. A talent for misplacing things. No. This has nothing to do with me. Don't drag me into it. Don't make the mistake of associating with me with this Nipponese. Oh dear. The rift is very wide, isn't it? So it's not decisive evidence, clearly. But it doesn't look good, that's for sure. Alright, time for that photograph. Lord Van Zieks, we came by this old photograph. Where did you get that? It was taken when I became a qualified prosecutor. It's almost unbelievable. I assumed it was long lost. Is the man on the left there? Yes, that's my brother, Clint. Aha! It had to be, really. Apparently this picture was prominently displayed in Gregson's office. He had a deep respect for you, you know. Were you aware of that? Respect? That's nonsense. No, we've heard someone attest to it very clearly. Inspector Gina Lestrade, no less. Well, maybe once, yes. There was a time things were like that. We were brothers in arms, jovially discussing the future of justice and other such lofty subject matter. That was a nice glimpse of the past. I thank you. I feel as though I got a nice glimpse of the past then, too. There was a glimmer of a light in his eyes, a brief twinkle. An insight into the true nature of this man known to all as the stone-cold Reaper of the Bailey. Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, it pained him to say that. Oh, that's the first time he's ever used my actual name. I've lost all confidence in my country's justice system. I don't trust the police, the judiciary, or lawyers. But there's still one thing I'm willing to believe in. What's that? That which you see in the eyes of another across the courtroom. A simple determination to know the truth. Lord Van Zeeks? From the very first time we clashed in the Bailey almost a year ago now, I couldn't deny it, even though I dearly wished I could. Here is a loathsome Nipponese who has absolute integrity as a lawyer. There are only two other men I've known with that same look in their eyes. My brother Clint and Genshin Asogi. The man he idolized and the man who betrayed his trust in the most hideous way. When you showed me that photograph just now, it reminded me. You mean this photograph? Back then, I was able to laugh. I was free of the shackles of mistrust that plague me now. I looked to the future with hope. Since then, I've protected myself against betrayal by refusing to trust anyone. But at times, the mire into which I've sunk makes it almost impossible to breathe. I'm so sorry. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I want to believe in that look in your eyes. I need to believe in it. In tomorrow's trial, will you advocate for me? Yeah! That was easy. He did all the work. Of course I will. It would be an honor. I'm so pleased, Mr. Naruhodo. Then my life is in your hands. Oh boy. For Lord Van Zeeks, that must have been an incredibly hard thing to ask. Which is why I simply cannot let the man down. Tomorrow, in the Old Bailey, against my old friend, Kazuma. Oh boy. To be continued right now, thank God. Oh, this is gonna be good. Oh, I'm excited to see who the jury is, too. The 2nd of November. Odds are we probably won't see the 5th of November. That is my birthday. There's that old familiar feeling again. The crushing pressure of this historic courthouse. Actually, no, it's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. There is a menacing tension in the air here today, isn't there, I suppose? Yes, I think so. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. A little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my, I do apologize. However, you're certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details. However, I understand that no jury has been selected. Oh. Okay. Oh. A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago. A closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Oh, his hair's normal. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well, I completely forgot about your little hair problem. Ha! What to one man is a little hair problem, is to another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim. And you. I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases, the Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the black roots of crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you. What an honor. And that would be your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes. After all, behind this lawyer there is a very great mind, my own. For a second I thought he was about to say Susado's, but that is even better. What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in? Oh-ho! Mikotoba too. Oh, what is that armband on her arm? Gina! What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose. Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see our country's up-and-coming student in action. I shall be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Just start by picking the low-hanging ones, Ryunosuke. It'll be fine. Otto? Oh, yes, Gina? Why do you agree to this, eh? Why do you take him on? This Reaper bloke, everyone says it was him what killed the boss. I'm sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. Well, it weren't him. Who was it? I don't know that yet. I don't care who calls him what. The Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the culprit deserves every ounce of your loathing. Huh? At least that may be some solace to the deceased. Please, Otto. Get whoever did this for the boss. Oh, Gina. I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you've gotta find who done this and make the wretch pay. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way into the courtroom at once, please. They always have the most uncanny timing. All right then, here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Van Zieks. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, all that pain, on course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all those dark events. And whatever truth is revealed, we're going to have to look it straight in the eye. I'm ready. Ah, God, so if Kazuma being dressed like an inverted Edgeworth, Miles Edgeworth, wasn't enough, we have no jury. Oh, this is setting up to be all meat, no fat. Ooh. Let's do this. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct a fair and just trial of the defendant, Barak von Zieks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin? The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma-sama. I've been wishing to see you in court again for so long, it feels. But I never pictured it happening like this. I never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Today, we must uncover the truth behind this scourge. In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder. The truth revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions throughout the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial, with no members of the public present. By Her Majesty's direct orders. Then who's all that in the background? How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the juror's bench shall remain vacant today. If no members of the public are present, might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord? Hey! They are members of the judiciary, here to witness proceedings and ensure an equitable trial. Members of the judiciary? Oh my! This is a very unusual trial already. There is, of course, another unprecedented aspect to these proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsels for the prosecution and the defense are both aliens of Great Britain. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain This is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Kazuma? Very well, let us commence proceedings. Prosecutor Asogi, your opening statement, if you please. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on the 1st of November at just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building of flats on Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property. Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known very well indeed to this court. Not least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago. The Professor case. How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all have reported the same time. Yes, that's what Gina told us too. There were a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. Well, there's that candelabra. Someone drew it. They must have thought it was important, like me. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly. How has the range been determined? There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks were caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at point-blank range. I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel. The murder weapon was found lying beside the victim. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm? No, my lord. Not conclusively. Bravo, Kazuma-sama, for not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven. Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There is a candelabrum mounted on that wall, and the tip of one of the candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile. We noticed that too, didn't we? Yes, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please. As you wish, my lord. Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode? No, my lord. The room is rented to Mr. Hugh Boone. But there is precious little furniture inside, and it is generally in a poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there? Presumably he was investigating some case or other. When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside holding the revolver. Oh. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. So, the details of the case are clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. A name, please, Counsel. Naturally, the accused himself. Lord Van Zeeks? As a prosecutor, he believes in the oath of office he's taken and will be compelled to tell the truth. Very well. Let the defendant take the witness stand. Well, good on Kazuma. He is punching above the belt, unlike some. Anyway, now that he's actually been called to the stand, let me look at that new evidence that was just added. That's the autopsy report. It was 45. The coroner was Maria Gori. Okay. Time of death. Time of death left blank? Oh, that's interesting. The coroner wasn't certain. That is odd. A victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind. The caliber of the gun used matches that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary. Ah. That does throw a wrench into things. And the diagram. Yeah, nothing new to discern here. I wonder if it was possible for someone to hide here, behind the bulletin board. If I remember right, it was like... It didn't reach to the floor, it kind of stopped, and it was on two legs, so... Someone would be able to see the feet, but at a glance you wouldn't notice them hiding there. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Barak von Zeeks, Old Bailey prosecutor. I presume, Lord Van Zeeks, that you heard Prosecutor Asoki's opening precis. I did. It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. Then I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question. And what exactly took place. I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. I must say, Lord Van Zeeks, I never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony then, witness. Here we go. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. You were? When I first entered that room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. That testimony was the whole truth. It was. So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants, and moments later a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right, you haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. I thought you were my mute apprentice. Yet it turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asogi. It would appear to be a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't the word, it's laughable. What's got into Kazuma? He's not behaving like himself at all. Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address.
Hold it!
You were investigating the inspector. What on earth for? I'm not at liberty to say. Sorry? I'd identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question you followed the victim to the scene? No, I was privy to his movements in advance. How? I stole into his office in the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. You illegally entered the man's office. In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zeeks? I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim, and yet you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Why did I ever think I could defend this man? When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one.
Hold it!
Had you ever been to the address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigations into Gregson's activities. There was no light inside when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make out anything. If that's true, that means the candelabra wouldn't be burning. But at 5 p.m. the sun would only just have gone down. It would still have been reasonably light outside. The room has a window, but it was boarded shut. Very little light found its way into the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. Plus, hold on. The way the door swings open, it would completely block that corner of the room that Gregson's laying in. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that the part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a small desk in the room just here. Yes, I remember. And there was an oil lamp on it, as well as the framed photograph. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started towards the desk to investigate. And what did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. I spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. Did you hear the revolver clattering to the floor?
Hold it!
So, who fired the gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room. But you say it was very dark in there. Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is I didn't sense another's presence. Aha, then could it be that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room? No, that's out of the question. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. Oh. Well, I was gonna say, wouldn't there be a possibility that Gregson was shot point blank at an earlier time, and then it just so happens that the body and the gun was arranged in there, and then some other source of the noise happened, but... Boy, if that were true, it would sound like someone had lured Van Zieks into a trap, but... He stole into Gregson's room to read the diary. That's the only way he could have found out. So, who could have lured him into a trap if that's the case? Oh, this is weird. Maybe someone who... knew that Gregson would go there, or... I don't know. And you say that's the point at which you notice the revolver on the floor? Correct. And I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Presumably then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took in your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. What? The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder. But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired? Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, I'm afraid I can't. I, too, would dearly like to know that. Just as I picked up the firearm to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. Hold it! A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them had set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened. Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she? They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process. But you're supposed to be the Reaper. The first man to come in immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. A policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. Hold it! What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear? I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly there it was. Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand? At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first. Nothing more. I see. After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed, or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere, I have no idea.
Objection!
Oh. Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Barak von Zieks, is lying on multiple fronts. What is that supposed to mean? Good gracious, counsel! The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible. as proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything? If you examine the tip of the lawn candle, you can see it has been blown off by a powerful impact. A Genshin impact. Hey. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. The problem comes when you consider the other two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long. We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all three candles together, which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. That must be because that particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. Ah! That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other two candles would still have been burning, so the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabrum. And the accused claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie. There's more? The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings. Yes, that's right. We saw it too. It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases, the oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. And there is a common thread linking all of the documents on that board. Indeed. What is this common thread, Counsel? They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Barak von Zieks. Okay, that sounds like the information that would be useful to, the actual Reaper. All of them? And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Good lord! Yep. Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Oh. Oh no. In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout and his base of operations. The Reaper's hideout? And yet the Reaper would claim never to have been to his own secret hideout? No one would believe that. No, the truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain yourself, Counsel. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. What? Okay, remember what I said about punching above the belt? Never mind. Never mind. Ordar! 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 Ooh, got good jowl shaking on that one. Very well. I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Barak von Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Prosecutor Asogi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. All I have done is state the truth as I know it. Kazuma's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case, and it's formidable. Counsel, you will submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. Alright. Let's look at that right now. Yep. That's a lot of people. Oh, hello. Nearly missed that. An upside down bloody handprint. What the hell? Oh, what's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look. Oh, yes, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint. Huh. And the color. That's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing. That would be the right hand. Interesting. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago was browning with age, look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh, it's the same Red-Headed League advertisement that Mr. Shones had picked out. And do you remember? There was a red hairpiece at the scene too. Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the Red-Headed League then? Weird. You know what, let's get a little glimpse of the new witnesses. Let's press on just a little bit more. And now, the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yes, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. Very well. Lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. Well, I recognize one of them. Oh, I recognize two. Okay, look. I've said earlier in this very, very long Let's Play that, boy, it feels like Capcom going into this game was heavily inspired by their time with Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. Like, the character designs, there's some echoes. But no, that Red Hood, that was Espella. That's just Espella. It's just Espella. It's her again. Right down to the long blonde braids going down her shoulders. That's a Spella freaking Cantabella, man. Okay, well, we got a look. We got that glimpse, and Beppo's returning. Friggin' Beppo, poor man. I guess he's. I would wager he's. Oh no, he must be the match seller. But he's so cold all the time, so he must burn his matches to keep warm, and he can't sell anything. Oh, the poor man. Okay, well. Ooh. Game's firing on all cylinders. Oh, every moment with Kazuma and Van Zeeks is just electrifying and so interesting. Oh, this is some good shit. I'm still thinking it must be the case that the room truly was pitch dark and the candle was blown apart and extinguished at a way earlier time. It's Weird. Oh, there's so much I want to learn. But yeah, my goodness, we might actually really learn the identity of the Reaper. Like, we've heard it from Van Zieks himself. He denies being the killer. And the popular rumor is that it's some ghost. The ghost of Clint. But, man, I don't know. Oh, this is interesting. I already can't wait for my next recording session, whenever that may be, probably tomorrow. But yeah, oh my god, this is great. Oh man, sitting here, I don't know how the final case that's coming up after this could possibly top this. Like, I feel like every plot thread's coming to a head right here. Man, this is great. I'm Zephyr the Jester. This has been more The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you next time. So until then, please take care.